This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We're broadcasting from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates from the UN Climate Summit. These are the headlines. In Gaza, Israeli tanks are pushing further into the southern city of Khan Yunis as its deadly ground assault continues and Palestinian casualties rise. The few functioning hospitals remain completely swamped with an influx of injured people, many of them children. The WHO called the assault on Gaza, quote, humanity's darkest hour. At least 16,200 Palestinians in Gaza have been killed since October 7th. The UN's top humanitarian relief coordinator said Israel's attack in southern Gaza has been as devastating as in the north, with the apocalyptic conditions preventing the delivery of aid. Some 85% of the Gazan population has now been displaced.
We suffered from the war of cannons and escaped it to arrive at the war of starvation. Now we cannot find food. We make the food by ourselves. We divide one tomato between all of us. There is no safe place. They finish off one place at a time, and only God knows where we will end up. Are we going to be alive? Are we going to be martyrs? We do not know what our destiny is. Today I eat, but I do not know if I'm going to eat tomorrow.
Meanwhile, an Israeli military spokesperson appeared on CNN Tuesday and touted a report released this week which said the IDF killed some 5,000 Hamas fighters, which would equal roughly 2 civilians killed for every Hamas member.
You will find that that ratio is tremendously positive and perhaps unique in the world.
The comments were swiftly condemned, and the accuracy of the figures have apparently not been verified outside the Israeli military. The Biden administration announced Tuesday it would ban visas for Israeli settlers involved in surging West Bank violence. Israeli soldiers and settlers have killed at least 260 Palestinians and wounded over 3,000 Palestinians in the occupied West Bank since October 7th. The U.S. government's rare rebuke of Israel comes as the Senate is voting today on a $106 billion spending package, which would send more military funding to Ukraine and Israel. Senate Republicans vowed to block the package over its lack of funding for so-called border security. Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders spoke out against the bill on the Senate floor Monday.
I do not believe we should be appropriating over $10 billion for the right-wing extremist Netanyahu government to continue its current military approach. What the Netanyahu government is doing is immoral, it is in violation of international law, and the United States should not be complicit. Despite his condemnation of Israeli violence, Sanders has refused to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. 13 House Democrats and 1 Republican, Congressmember Thomas Massie, voted against a new resolution explicitly equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism Tuesday. 92 Democrats voted present. The resolution also states the phrase "from the river to the sea," a popular slogan at protests for Palestinian rights, is a call for the, quote, eradication of the state of Israel and the Jewish people, unquote. Rashida Tlaib, the only Palestinian-American congressmember, wrote, quote, opposing the policies of the government of Israel and Netanyahu's extremism is not anti-Semitic. Speaking up for human rights and a ceasefire to save lives should never be condemned, she said. This comes amidst a mounting offensive by AIPAC, that's the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, to unseat progressives who speak up for Palestinian rights. Earlier today, Westchester County Executive George Latimer, who's been courted by AIPAC, announced he's launching a primary challenge against New York Congressmember Jamal Bowman. Last month, 2 Michigan Democrats running for the U.S. Senate revealed AIPAC offered them $20 million to instead primary Congressmember Tlaib for her House seat. Nasser Beydoun, a Lebanese-American businessman, and Hill Harper, a Hollywood actor-turned-politician, both turned AIPAC down.
Meanwhile, a new book by journalist Ryan Grimm reports an AIPAC representative approached Congressmember Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez with an offer to raise $100,000 after her stunning 2018 win. The fundraising was presented as an opening salvo to, quote, start the conversation about AOC's position on Israel. The UN Monday heard accounts of sexual assaults during Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel. Speakers criticized the UN and others for failing to promptly investigate and condemn sexual crimes. Former Facebook executive Sheryl Sandberg, who helped organize the event, was a key speaker. Hillary Clinton sent videotaped remarks. President Biden Tuesday condemned Hamas for the alleged attacks, which the group has denied. The nonprofit Physicians for Human Rights Israel last month released a report detailing survivor accounts of sexual assaults, which it said were widespread on October 7th. This is Orit Soliciano, head of Israel's Association of Rape Crisis Centers.
Most of the people, I assume, that have passed this kind of terror are dead because they were shot. There is information from people who saw what happened, but everybody should understand there should not be any anticipation that the survivors will come and speak out loud with their face. It's not like Me Too. This is a horrible and different thing.
Here in the United States, 400 military nominees were swiftly confirmed by the Senate Tuesday, just hours after Alabama Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville lifted his 10-month blockade on the majority of appointments. Tuberville had been protesting a completely unrelated Pentagon policy that pays out-of-state travel costs for its staff to receive abortion care. He finally relented after mounting pressure from fellow Republicans and threats from Democrats to temporarily change Senate rules in order to bypass the blockade. In related news, the military's top sexual assault prosecutor has been fired after an email surfaced in which he undermined assault allegations of survivors. Brigadier General Warren Wells sent the email to staff in 2013, which read in part, expect no commander to be able to make objective decisions involving allegations as long as Congress and our political masters are dancing by the fire of misleading statistics and one-sided repetitive misinformation by those with an agenda, he said. In Texas, a pregnant woman has filed an emergency lawsuit seeking to terminate her non-viable pregnancy. 31-year-old Kate Cox is 20 weeks pregnant with a fetus that's been diagnosed with trisomy 18, a fatal condition, but is unable to get the abortion she needs due to Texas's sweeping abortion ban. It's the first legal complaint filed in Texas since the ban was enacted and reads, quote, Ms. Cox's physicians have informed her that their hands are tied and she will have to wait until her baby dies inside her or carry the pregnancy to term, at which point she will be forced to have a third C-section only to watch her baby suffer until death. In Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu ordered an investigation following a miscalculated military drone strike that killed at least 85 civilians Sunday in the village of Tudunbiri in the northwest Kaduna state. The victims were gathering for a religious celebration marking the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. This is a survivor recounting the tragic attack.
We were celebrating Maulud when the airplane came and dropped the bomb. Some died, some got injured, and we all ran into the house. When the men in the village heard what happened, they came out to check, and that was when they dropped the second one, and more people died.
Drones are estimated to have erroneously killed some 400 civilians since 2017 in attacks that were targeting armed groups in the north of Nigeria. And Honduran authorities have issued an arrest warrant for the suspected mastermind of the 2016 murder of indigenous environmental leader Berta Cáceres. Daniela Tala Midense is the former financial manager of the hydroelectric company DESA. Berta Cáceres was assassinated as she led the fight against DESA's massive hydroelectric dam on a river in southwestern Honduras that's sacred to the Lenca people. Last year, David Castillo, a former U.S.-trained Honduran military officer and businessman, was sentenced to over 22 years for his role in ordering and planning Berta's assassination. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. We're broadcasting from the UN Climate Summit in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. Democracy Now! Is funded by viewers like you. Please give today at democracynow.org/give.